Good evening. It is August 16th, 2014. I'm Alex Ansary. This is the 321st edition of Outside the Box. Thank you for tuning in tonight or this morning, this afternoon, whatever time you may be watching the show. You'll notice it's episode 321, not 320. That's because last week on Sunday, I recorded the Real Portlandia episode 2. That is episode 320, and that's going to be playing at some time in the next few weeks. Tonight, there's a lot of different issues that I want to cover, and I want to leave myself some time to cover some of these issues that hopefully will put some things in the proper context, or at least help you understand where I'm coming from with some of these issues. Why are we bringing up some of these topics? Where is consciousness in all of this? Where is humanity? Where is humanity in the age of the machine that we are finding ourselves in? There's a number of different things that I want to bring to the table tonight. There's also some interesting video that we're going to be playing that may get you thinking, questioning what is happening within consciousness today on the planet. And I think that that is a overlooked topic. Humanity as a whole seems to be very quick to demonize each other, certain groups, certain boxes. In fact, people are demonized and dehumanized by ruling institutions of the day. And we see mass murders right before us. We see what is taking place in Gaza. We see what is taking place in Ferguson, Missouri. We see a continuation of this master-slave relationship between the people of the world and institutions, but inter-propaganda in the modern day and age. Television as it stands right now, the television that you understand, the things that are on these different channels, the programming that is out there, it is more toxic than I have ever seen before in my life, and is the ultimate weapon of mass distraction from the things that really matter in our lives. And for those of us living in the modern day and age, we don't have real commentary about the things that are really affecting us and how we're programmed, how we're manipulated. Much less is there accurate information on mainstream TV as to how to protect your minds from these things. Now, the New Age movement, also known as the New Age religion, and I'm not confusing this with spiritual concepts, concepts about oneness, concepts involving love and unity, true coexistence. New Age distorted material and also certain ways of looking at reality through a religious lens or even atheistic lens. We see this obsession to ignore the negative as to what is taking place on our planet. When we look at TV programming, you see all this spectacular so-called entertainment, flashy lights, all these different things that are geared towards distracting you. Very little information as to what makes up the nature of our reality. What does it mean to be a human being? Why do we have these emotions? Why do we have these feelings? Why are these things taking place on our planet? Why are we on this planet right now? Now, I think asking such questions makes us human. When we don't ask those basic questions about the fundamental building blocks of life, where does life come from? Why are we facing such circumstances on our planet right now? Why do we have this knowledge? Whether it be knowledge that we pulled off the web, documentary films, all the books that exist out there, you got to admit, there's something very special about this particular point in time that we're in, where we're experiencing so much challenge, and yet we have also at the same time so much information to educate us, most of all, about the things that connect us. There's information, there's ways you can educate yourself about other cultures across the planet, be they people in Afghanistan, be they people in Iraq, Libya, other places on the planet. But yet when you look at reality through the lens of a McDonald's straw that you may have found on the street, and you're allowing CNN to craft your reality for you, Fox News, other individuals to tell you about these different cultures and people across the land, across the sea, and the justifications that have been used in just the last decade alone. A lot of this callousness, the blood of the military-industrial complex that is on the hands of this country and other Western nations, it didn't start with 9/11, but since 9/11, it's been in our face. And a lot of people have tuned out, and they have been so affected by this world that their hearts are affected. And that's what's important to talk about tonight, how people have been affected consciously by these things, and the importance of remaining human and seeking to evolve. There's a lot of people out there that are facing massive anxiety right now, depression. Many women right now on our planet are suffering. I know that they are suffering. I see their suffering in the streets. I see a lot of confusion online as well, even within groups of people that say they're awake to what the government's doing. There's a lot of fear as to what will become of our lives at some point in the future. But there's also a lot of denial. There's a lot of denial of some of the things that we should be creating in the meantime. Unfortunately, people are, for the most part, slaves to their biological wiring. And most people are in a state of frock, flight, or fight. Most people, even if they're somewhat aware of the things that are taking place and they're concerned about the future, most people don't operate beyond an animal state of consciousness, where it is literally about just pure survival, but also what seems to be about survival, or what can help you survive, or what can protect you. Because as our instincts are so manipulated, it is also easy to distort things and to deceive people. And there are many people around us rushing every which way, focused on those basics of survival. And in living such a out of balance way of life, so divorced from nature, we suffer. We suffer when we don't use those parts of our intellect, when we don't use our bodies the way that we should. But people have a distorted understanding of health and wellness. Oh, if you just eat these foods, and if you just have enough money to enjoy this lifestyle, you can be happy and you can be healthy. And you look at the real world today, you look at people suffering because there's something that is not being fulfilled. Now, you don't have to look at reality the way that I look at reality. You don't have to have the same agreements. You don't have to agree with me on certain things. You can completely disagree on certain areas and topics. But certain things you can't turn your head away from. And when you live in a world that is bombarded with so much propaganda, when you're living in a world amongst so many other traumatized individuals, when you're living in a world where the quality of your food is degrading more and more, where even the quality of your water has become increasingly questionable, even if you live in Portland and they say the quality of your water is great. We read more reports about questionable things in the water. We wonder, is someone putting something in the water, and we're talking about from the inside, to gain more control over our water? And in the act of doing so, we ask the question, why are we in some circumstances where we have, at one point, the city of Portland voting to put fluoride in the water supply? Why are we as souls even in these circumstances to begin with? And these are questions that I think are worth asking ourselves, regardless of what answer you come up with. Because you don't have to have an answer to ask the question. And the question may arise, come to you at the time that you are ready to hear the answer. See, people look for solutions. What's the solution to all this madness? What exactly are you asking for a solution to? You're asking for an easy, quick fix, and many do, to a very complex planet right now, full of a lot of souls, some of them that I think are fallen, some of them just got here. I think this planet is a convergence of souls from all over this galaxy. Most of all, though, the nature of evil that hides behind government, the true energy of the Wizard of Oz, it is not understood by the people of the world. And in fact, it seems that people wish it was just a man-made conspiracy, where it's easy to say that it's just this group and it's just this group. And if it was that simple, there would be more people working together to deal with just a few people causing problems for the whole world. But there's massive confusion even at the level of those involved in the control system. They only know as much as they need to know. And there's a lot of questions that have been lingering for years that have never really been fully answered as to why they're building such a draconian world government with the global DNA database. This obsession with bloodlines, that's also a reoccurring theme. It's never fully answered. Oh, there's a little information here about eugenics and master race ideology that exists. We also see this in Zionism. We see this in the callous actions that the Israelis are taking towards the Palestinians. But a lot of people have difficulty understanding how the male-female balance has been struck down, how we are seeing the fragmentation of human consciousness, and this is not something that I see to be natural. The state of world that we are in, the amount of conflicts that are taking place, how easy they seem to be able to hypnotize people with their flashy graphics and all the different ways of propaganda. I mean, when you're looking at a society where you have people going on TV saying, it's okay for these millions to die over here, or however many, whatever the number, in whatever country, because of such, and such, because we claim that there are terrorists that have come from or resided or took a vacation in their country. The most absurd, demonic, satanic ideology. 9/11, 3,000 dead, and they send troops over there, millions murdered. People want to get offended. There's a whole lot of people that want people to bow down to the uniform. It actually is so perverted that people themselves lack the responsibility to call out members of their own community. Where are people coming back that are repenting of the things that they have done? In reality, there's none of that taking place. There's just simply resentment against those that are asking the larger questions. What kind of repercussions is this going to bring to the United States long term? The public safety. Now, when you deal with people that go and kill machine gun children, cover up rapes, when you have that type of energy coming back into your neighborhoods, it's like a spirit. It's like a spirit of evil that I feel is coming back when people come back after they've killed innocent civilians. And our community is affected by literally demons that are conjured by bombing parts of the world where the ancients were allegedly buried. There's so much involved in that scenario by itself. But I believe we're on earth to experience what we've created for ourselves on so many different levels. And I'm not the first to suggest such a thing. So when people cry out into the night, why? Why us? Why me? As if they're that ice skater that got her knee hit by a baton, with a baton back in the early 90s. Why me? I mean, I think we ought to be asking ourselves, why are we here? What is there for us to learn from this? Is there anything that we have to do in this matrix while we're here? Other than just watch what's happening on Facebook. Other than just watch what's happening on YouTube. Act like we're just a spectator. Oh, we're not involved in this. Oh, we're just looking at a few politicians here. Or we're just looking at a few bloodlines here. Or we're just looking at the Jews, as some people would like to believe it's just a Jewish conspiracy. Without even asking ourselves, am I somehow involved? Are we somehow involved in supporting dictators, in supporting dominators, right down to our interpersonal relationships? Do we sit and get excited when we see grown men chasing big balls back and forth, back and forth? Do we feel like, we have this inclination to make monkey sounds and gorilla sounds and other animal sounds? Is there something about our wiring as a human being that is not as evolved as we would like to think that it is? That's easy to misdirect, that's easy to control, that's easy to frighten, that's easy to trick and deceive into following their lower senses? What do you really think? Humans are real quick to demonize the actions of other people to the point where they will condemn them to death for things that they have no knowledge of. You have no evidence that anyone from Afghanistan or Iraq or Libya or any of these countries did anything to you or any member of your family. But the ideology that is dominant in this country and in the Western world is frightening. When you look at everything that's being done right now, it will come back to us. And this is the importance of understanding the evil in our world and choosing to stand against it in a non-violent way in your heart. To choose something lighter than the darkness that's being force-fed to us right now. All you have to do is just start channel surfing the other channels. Other than what's on Access TV, and the most violent, the most barbaric, the most twisted depictions of life are being displayed to people. And a lot of people aren't alarmed by it. I want to cover a couple things here and show you how some other people have been affected by society. We'll get that first video ready, but we won't go to it for several minutes. I'll let you guys know when we're going to go to the video. There's about 5 of them that we're going to show you tonight. But I want to cover a couple things first before we do. There's a lot of things that I wrote. But it's important to think about our ancestors in a favorable way. And so when people think back about the way that things were, and a lot of women think back about the old world like it was some horrible, 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 horrible place. And everything about the future and microchips and surveillance is good, good, all good in the hood. We have government with a monopoly on protection. It's called the local police departments. And because that little thing called your cell phone, and I'm not for arranged marriages, absolutely not. And I'm not for everything in the old world or the past, but there were some good things about our past that I think are worth cherishing. And some of you came from good fathers and grandfathers, good men that worked with their hands, that knew what they were doing. They were good men. They built their home because they cared about their family. We've seen a mass exodus from the country life, and this represents, the world that we're moving into, the interface with technology and Google Glasses. We see how cell phones themselves have become a replacement mate. We live in an age where we talk about robots, people buying robot lovers. They're developing these really sophisticated sex machines. It's quite revolting. It reminds one of THX 1138, a particular scene within that movie, starring Robert Duvall, made in 1973. And a lot of people see the convenience still to this day that technology is bringing us, a double-edged sword. There's good that can come about from technology, the information as to how our world really is, things that are happening in real time. But there's a lot of people that believe that the old world is all full of darkness. When we were closer to nature, they see the old world as just a world that is marked by the male domination of women. Okay? And people are trying so hard to get away from anything relating to the old world. And now it's high technology, it's ultimate control. And unfortunately, a lot of people are locked in this manufactured gender war, where the control really isn't about masculine energy, it's control, period. Sometimes it comes through the vessel of a woman. It's not really about men or women, though, when we talk about the true psychology and energy of control that exists on the planet right now. It's anti-human. It's not pro-male or pro-female in any regards whatsoever. And so we see people with an angry, vengeful outlook and way of dealing with people. Men in the modern world today, we are experiencing this, but we aren't allowed to talk about it. At least that's how the world seems to behave at times. We live in a day and age where those that do have morals and integrity, for whatever reason, are attacked by the evil of this world. And the best advice that I can give you, those of you women, those of you men that are trying to do the right thing, is don't give up. Because there's a whole bunch of people around you, your peers, your parents, and other people with their programming that's not going to understand the relevance of you taking a higher road and not hooking into the Borg mindset. But there's value in it. And even though it seems like this is an uphill road that we're in against the machine, there's something about maintaining our humanity. There's value in it, and there's importance in you making the right decisions, in choosing to help other people, because everything that we do comes back to us. There may come a time where we need people to watch our back. But right now, we are looking at what's happening to society, in a way trying to watch society's back. Even if these men, even if these women aren't in our neighborhood, even if these are things happening in other cities, we'll go ahead and play that video now, Bill. We'll go ahead and play it without sound. We'll go ahead and just take a look at the actual video. And this is from a subway in Canada, not too long ago, back in 2012. And this is showing a woman on the subway, and for whatever reason, there's an increase in things taking place on the subways, on buses. These are not the cleanest places in either America or the world, for that matter. There's a lot of strange things that, even happen in the dirty streets of Portland. That would be it. And so we're seeing an increase in videos popping up online of people that have been living in this system their entire life. That's it. We'll go ahead and roll it without audio. And so what you can see here is a person that is dealing with their own stress wherever she came from, wherever she worked. And she's going through this. She's got a cell phone. She's about to check her cell phone in just a moment. What I noticed when I watched this video is how her face seems to change after this. Something seems to change with her energy, where she seems to change from one personality and move into another personality. We'll go ahead and pan up the audio just so slightly, but make sure I can hear it in studio. Thank you.
Whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. Chill. Whoa.
So we see certain themes here. She becomes very strong, very forward all of a sudden, different personality, doing something that
Hey. She's probably possessed. No, she's
a lot of women wouldn't do. So we're seeing a rise in abnormal behavior. Different terms may come up to describe this. Is it demonic?
Emergency.
Is it archonic or archontic? Is it something else? Is it mind control? Are these Manchurian candidates? There's a lot of focus on government conspiracies, wireless transmissions, mind control through cell phones. But what about what is coming from the unseen realms? That which you don't understand, that which you cannot see. And what happens to people in this society where they're so affected by the negativity, by the wars, by other things, that we start to see people lash out when they're not in full control of themselves. They don't know where they are, they don't know who they are, and they seem to be in a state of trance. Now, let me, she's choking him, pulling him by his ponytail. Let's get the second video ready. And there is so much propaganda out there that is geared towards targeting the female consciousness and targeting the male consciousness. And it's about taking you away from nature, further divorcing you from nature, to the point where we see all this stuff happening, we experience it in our body, and what the dark forces want us to do, whether your understanding of that has matured to a point where you can see it or not, they want us at war. They want us literally at each other's throats. Because as long as we're at war, whether it be a gender thing, whether it be a cultural thing, or war over space, or resenting each other in the streets, some people enjoy being really cocky in this society, you know, and it's like Right Said Fred, I'm Too Sexy, is playing in their minds on loop. It's programming, when in reality, we should be addressing what's taking place with our government, with these unjust, immoral wars, with the environmental degradation taking place, with the homeless problems. Instead, you have people that bottle up that natural frustration. And we'll play it without audio because we have this person commentating. And we're going to show the video back and forth. Go back a little bit. Here we are. Here we have a woman that steps on a train in Chicago, and she starts announcing that she's the goddess. She is the goddess. She is there to be worshipped. And now we'll get the third video ready. And so, of course, people are gawking at this. They're looking at the naked, beautiful woman. And, of course, we see that she is beautiful. She's not, of course, we didn't see her face, but she had a decent body. And so this is going to attract a lot of people. People are, you know, looking at this information, and it's real comical and funny to some people. People are quick to call people crazy, especially in this city, or quick to say, oh, that person's on drugs. They do not understand where it comes from. Me and Bill were talking about, you know, the rise of some of these stories on his show a couple months ago. And I was talking about the rise of stories that I see with people stripping their clothes off in Portland. Not always being a sexual thing, not always running around with an erection chasing women. Sometimes it's just a man or a woman, they strip their clothes off, they go primal. And they start doing push-ups in the street or something crazy, and they get hit by a car. And like after we were talking about this, it's in the news. And I looked down at those comments on the KATU news report, and there's all this compassion for the driver. Oh, that poor driver. There's all these women that are writing, oh, that poor driver who is probably driving that vehicle, shocked by seeing that naked man and unfortunately killing him. What about compassion for the naked man? What's going on with these people? And before just marginal, oh, they're drug addicts, they're crazy. Here's a female tearing apart a McDonald's. Okay? This is in the last year. The male working there refused to let her give him oral, okay? So she starts trashing the place. Superhuman strength. She's going primal. And not everything about being primal or natural is wrong. But there's this light and dark side to nature, to human nature. Just like there's a light and a dark aspect to the masculine energy or feminine energy. And so we are seeing a rise in this type of behavior. Unfortunately, a lot of people thought that some of those attacks that took place in 2012 were bath salt attacks. When you look at the situation of the face eater in Miami, that guy wasn't on bath salts. Okay, so there are multiple accounts coming at autopsy reports where people that were assumed to be on these bath salts were not on bath salts. They just are acting out. And so society seems to have an issue, now we'll get the next video ready, addressing the fact that some of these people are products of this society. Now this is an interesting one. This is from the BART train station. We'll play this without audio. And this is San Francisco, I believe off of Mission Street and maybe 12th. It's not the best area. And so this is the censored version. Okay, I worked hard to keep the profanity out of tonight's show so we can, broadcast on prime time. There's a lot of insanity taking place in our world, and sometimes we have to take that extra step to make sure there's no nudity here. But this guy with a schlong and everything doing ninja gymnastics, I mean, he's going after this guy who's obviously larger than him. I mean, the man without fear, the ultimate Afro daredevil. He's starting to show how good he is. There we go. You know what's interesting here? He doesn't stop until the police officer comes. This guy gives him a light kick, and he's like twitching like he's on some sort of substance. See how programmed and institutionalized he is, even the so-called mentally crazy. Oh, they're crazy up to a point. Till an officer comes, then they're real quick to get down and kiss the boot. That guy wasn't so quick to get down and stop doing what he was doing when that other guy was trying to restrain him. What I have personally seen, and we'll just go ahead and keep playing these videos, however you like, the other videos that we have seen. I have seen people do things that I would consider self-destructive, even suicidal. And so we live in a world where, oh, by the way, rest in peace, Robin Williams. Robin Williams. Robin Williams committed suicide. Michael Rubert committed suicide several months ago. See, I talked about this stuff years ago on Outside the Box TV that we would be facing an increase in people killing themselves or thinking that they might want to kill themselves. And we have to actually start asking ourselves the question, what could go wrong when a society completely has a blind spot to the nature of evil, how it's controlled our government? What is it really doing to us? What is the food doing to us? What is the electromagnetic pollution doing to us? For those of you that live in Portland, Oregon, okay, you're surrounded by radio waves. You're surrounded by microwaves. Okay, you have smart meters. You have all this technology that is completely unnatural to the human body. As a woman, how do you think you're affected? I know I'm speaking to a few females right now. I know there may be a little tension right now. It's a dog-eat-dog world. It's a man's world. You should hear the things that some women say about other women, though. There are a lot of women out there that will backstab and will climb over another woman just to get to the top. And when you look at human nature and what is taking place, it is important to look at what is actually taking place, not what you want to believe. And so when you see people acting unconsciously, whatever their gender is, whatever their race, you need to look at that. I look at that as an unconscious fallen soul. It's not the woman in her. It's not the man. It's not the race. It's not because he was black. It's not because they were white and they hate brown people. There's something about, and people necessarily don't want to hear these issues. And I made a decision that I'm going to bring up these issues and I am going to communicate them. I want to explain what we're about to see here. This man, hit pause, is verbally, and we're not playing the audio because of the profanity. It is so foul. Okay, that's why we're not playing the audio tonight. The audio is multiple foul words being said to this man's wife. And in a way, this is a heroic situation because you don't see situations like this that often in today's society, where you see a whole crowd of people on the bus come to someone's aid. In fact, we see the opposite. And as we talk more about that, go ahead and roll the video. Play just a little bit of audio so we can get just a little bit of the commotion. And then maybe we'll play it without audio again so we see the man standing over the man and his wife. That is a profoundly outrageous way to disrespect someone. Many men are very disrespectful, even in Portland. They may not do things like that, but they will look at your woman and they will look at you and size you up and size you down. A lot of women will do that. I found a lot of women, they'll treat you like you're invisible until you go to their bar with a woman that they perceive to be less than them or not as good looking as them, and they'll play some weird mind psychic game. What are you with her and not with me? But I'm off topic already. We see people engage, we'll roll it back, play without audio, that are engaged in suicidal behavior, where they can easily be taken out of the game, they can easily be taken out of this world, they can easily be identified. We know what they're doing, they leave their fingerprints, and they insult another man's wife. They're the same color. This isn't racial. This is New York City today, and it makes me cry for the future of humanity. I mean, does anybody ever think where things are really going to be in 10 years? With the major influence of technology that hasn't even arrived yet. We've got like iCloud systems in Portland and cars are talking to each other. And the divide between the have and have-nots is so much greater, so much greater. In 5 to 10 years, they'll admit we have a problem with the Zetas in Portland and human trafficking on a level that most people aren't ready to deal with. Okay. Because we are inheriting a planet right now where there are unconscious human beings that are willing to hurt other people. And there's been so much new age distorted information out there that in reality has bullied people that have tried to explain or bring light to the things that are taking place, especially when people are hurt. Not so we can create more of it, so we can bring light to it. Say someone has a disease, there's something wrong, their heart isn't hurting. It's not negative if they go to the doctor or if they go to a naturopathic person, they say, why do I have a heartbeat that is irregular? Why is my heart racing when I'm not drinking coffee or something's happening? Doctor, give me the news. People need accurate information, most especially about your health. You know, about those cures for cancers that your doctor doesn't want to talk to you about, that wants to get you on cholesterol medication. I don't want to beat anybody up verbally that's on antidepressant medication. Look at all the suffering women are under today and men that are living in such an unnatural world. I feel what they feel. I feel what they feel, and especially when we talk about Portland's past and its trauma drama. That stuff, that frock and stuff, it is just hanging on the outside of their auras. I wish I could find the words to help people that are suffering in this town. From drug problems, from alcoholism, from sex trafficking, either those that are allowing themselves to be with a manipulative husband, boyfriend, or other. I wish I could say the things that would snap a man out of that mentality as well. The one that's controlling, that feel that he needs to have women serve him or give him money. You know, a lot of these people are products of this society, and society has a very difficult time looking at what we really are, how our lower natures actually come out when we're being manipulated. You look at Grand Theft Auto 5, and young boys at the age of 5, 6, 7, as long as they can play that game, they can rush up and knock a woman out. In a video game today being sold by the millions. How many mothers are supporting that action? How many women never question what's really happening in Iraq and Afghanistan, or have shown visible emotion at what has been reported to have happened to people over there? Most especially the millions dead, because all those boys, you may think they're terrorists. NPR might be reporting things a certain way to you. Those came from mothers. Okay, that came from a woman. So are you going to demonize it? Wouldn't it be right? And it isn't right to demonize women because of the things that their children do. But a lot of things that people have been told about Afghanis and Iraqis are outrageously inaccurate, especially about why the U.S. is still there. And so there's gross misunderstanding, and there are people that will worship others that participate in invasion. And they are real American heroes, and that's not the truth. Now, our economy is so bad right now, in reality, that there are more people, the Pentagon, all the branches of the military, they have all the young men and women that they need for current conflicts. But things right now aren't even close to as bad as they could be. When they stage a major conflict, there are many people that are working, of course, that don't have time to think about major conflicts, that they are preparing for the future, in particular, like major conflicts that they're preparing with China and Russia. So people are busy working and trying to make that degree work for them. And people are busy trying to find spirituality through material things on the boulevard of the $50 Buddha. And I came up with this term for Hawthorne years ago. Hawthorne, formerly known as Asylum Avenue. How perfect. The state's first mental hospital was on 12th and Hawthorne. And the $50 Buddha Boulevard can now be called easily the $200 Buddha Boulevard with its inflation. With the inflation, the amount of money needed to have a room that you can rent now. And you can't buy a spiritual experience, but so much of our world is based on that. Oh, if you just have things decorated the right way, have your couch over here, oh, it's feng shui. Have your tea over here, have your New Seasons over here. Oh, have your Whole Foods over here. Have a nice white picket fence. Have a neighborhood where everybody in the neighborhood looks just like you and drives your exact vehicle and has the same politics as you. We see these forms of tribalism that are erupting within our society that is frightening. You know, a lot of people want to come here to places like Portland. They want a better life for their children. They want a better life for their kids. They want their kids to live in safe neighborhoods, but yet they ignore the reality of what's happening with other person-to-person crimes in Portland, as long as it doesn't affect their children. So that's the mentality. But here's my question for you. I know you're concerned about your children being safe, but you know what? There's warrant for concern as to how safe your children are going to be to others when they become your age. You ever think about that? You ever think about which one of the children on your block will end up a human trafficker, or will end up an alcoholic, or will end up a drug addict? You think that children that get spoiled in today's society, the ones that can go ahead and pull mommy's hair and hit mommy and things like that. There's so many of you out there that spoil your children, that live in a world where it's just about you and your family. And yet there are people that are spoiled rotten by their parents that end up monsters. Absolute monsters. Get on Google and type in girl traffics girl, Portland, Oregon. Or woman traffics girl, Portland, Oregon. Or mother chopping up their baby, Portland, Oregon. And you watch the thousands of headlines that pop up. KTU's not making it up. Channel 12 isn't just focusing on the negative. Oh, they're focusing on the negative. I know what Portland has changed into. And I've always had an affinity for the real spirit of Portland that, of course, is probably known by another name, Portland being a name that was given to it by the plutocracy that came here. So when I see the children of Portland suffering, it bothers me. When I know that we can do better, that I know that the city of Portland, if it really cared about the people, could come up with a place for the homeless to stay that's drug-free. Buildings where people with skills, publishing skills, media skills, work with your hand skills, they can get to work and they can stay off the drugs and alcohol. They can stay out of the bad zones. You see, the city of Portland could do these things. They set aside millions of dollars for other things. How many millions have they set aside for this gentrification project? Do you know how much money out of the whole street fee goes to paying for parking meters, meter maids, people that run around scanning license plates? And they will take your truck. They will take my truck. Got a ticket a couple years ago, I didn't pay. Now it's got a warrant, like it's an outlaw itself. Living the fugitive lifestyle. I park my car in different places in Portland. I work hard to be aware and not be unaware, unconscious, to where some meter maid's gonna walk up, run my car and go, oh, you didn't pay your bill from like 2009. I'm gonna take your car. Every time I see a meter maid, most of the time, I leave women alone, but when I see some of these, you know, out of shape, robot looking, you know, parasite types that are driving around on, what do they call those little, you know, they're not even walking anymore. Okay, they got these little, I don't even know what you call them. I don't know what you call them, Bill, but you sit on them and you just go vroom, vroom, vroom. It's not a motorcycle. It's this other RoboCop stuff where we're seeing it all around the world. And you see these large people, not trying to bash people that are overweight, but we see this theme with grossly out of shape, round tummies, and they're on these little motorized devices. They don't even have to walk a decent amount just to write that ticket. And it's scary, it's frightening. Let me make this point and then cover some other things that I intended to talk about. There's something about doing the right thing, and that's how you deal with fear. How does one really prepare for the world of tomorrow? You do the right thing and you speak up for people that are victimized. See, we see in Gaza, we see depleted uranium being used. It's like something straight out of the Matrix. See, there's things you can learn from pop culture. There's intelligent, there are masterpieces out there. Dark City is another movie you might want to watch, where they are giving you a very detailed analogy of how things could be. And the human imagination is powerful at its ability to paint a picture in the mind's eye. At what point do we realize that some of these things aren't just movies? At what point do we start looking at our own world with the same passion? And I think that is very important. People spend a lot of time, they give their energy away, okay, to the media energy vampires of our day. You know, to so-called professional sports, so-called professional wrestling, all these horrifying movies that are coming out, yet people seem too scared to look at what's really going on. You know, people seem to show great awareness of the next movie coming out and how it compares to the comic book and how it compares to the previous one. You know, despite I won't see the Transformers. Elitism. We're going to a couple graphics at random here, and we see people that, oh, you haven't seen that movie? Oh, you haven't watched that TV show? You don't watch Dances with the Stars? You're not hip? You're not hip, slick, and cool? You're not tapped into what we're tapped into? You're not in our club, bub. Okay, because we don't talk about those things. And so there is a psychology of the new average man and woman that has no place in their heart for true spirituality or any compassion whatsoever. And I want the good people out there, or people that are striving to do the right thing, to understand that there's a purpose why we do what we do. And I hope that you are able to think outside the box of your own lifetime right now and what you are experiencing right now and how people have treated you. I want you to think outside the box, because things are not as they seem, especially when people get their karmic payback. Everybody gets their payback in this type of reality, in what I think is a spiritual biological matrix. So those people doing good, those people trying to draw attention to certain issues, you know, they don't have the same things that other people have to worry about, that have worked their whole lives, you know, breaking necks, smashing faces. You know, there's male-female equivalents. There's the dark masculine, there's the dark feminine. People that have used their sexuality to rob other people, to manipulate other people, to vampire off their energy. You know, here's a way you can be an energy vampire as well. Use your sexuality to try to get people's attention. If they look, you glare at them, but you also glare at them if they don't look. The ultimate energy vampire of our day will dress up like a sexy individual, but will actually use that as a weapon instead of something that could actually be healing and loving. There is so many things that have been perverted on our planet right now. And there are people that are acting in ways to create more anger and resentment in this manufactured war of the genders. We need each other, but unfortunately in today's society, a lot of men and women are told the opposite, okay? Now here's my message to you men out there, and I barely touched my notes tonight. I want you to hear me very clearly. The greatest prison you can ever live in, The greatest state of enslavement that you can ever live in is enslavement to your own erect penis and what your body wants to do. Now, I don't care what your religious denomination is. I don't care how shallow of a mind you have. I understand that there is a primal self, there is body consciousness, but there is something else that is not local. And there is something about us that is higher, that is able to access consciousness, able to access information as to what we as soul spirits are doing in bodies in this particular day and age, being toyed with and fraught with on so many different levels. And if you don't know that it's happening, if you like the way that things are, first of all, anyone that is well adjusted to such a sick, profound, violent world, I don't personally trust at this point, and I'm not going to waste my time trying to wake them up. Okay? Anyone that's well adjusted to mass murder, to the way that women are treated, to the way that men are treated, any women okay with the way that other women are treated, or men, any men okay with the way that women are treated, or other men, the way that we are mind controlled to go out and be super soldier killers for the friggin' dark side. No, that's not healthy. And people need to start talking out against that. It is mental illness. No one is saying if you are well adjusted to a world like this. So there are people out there that have been programmed that they are a man and only a man, or they are a woman and only a woman, and their whole thing about survival is to outrace and outcompete the other. Now, where do you think this is really going to go? You think it just ends at the Hunger Games? And there are so many different ways in our society today that you can see the direction that they're taking our children. You can go to a Walmart and you can see the type of dolls that they're selling to your children. And yet there's still not enough people asking where. Where is this coming from? The agenda to sexualize our children before they're even supposed to be thinking or even naturally thinking about the act of sex itself. Why is this taking place? So it's important that we understand these things, that we understand the counterfeit spirituality of our day that is all around us, the boulevard of the $50 Buddha, that we understand Agenda 21 and how it fits in to life in Portland with all the cell phone towers and smart meters, smart growth, micro apartments, death of the family, light rail the taxpayers paid for that the private interests are going to get. They're driving our city into bankruptcy, but they keep borrowing more and more money. They treat people like crap down at City Hall, and yet HSBC, they do business with them to the tune of $8.3 million. And the people of Portland, by and large, are okay with G4S having a private security contract. There are people out there that are good, that see that some of these things are wrong. This isn't about winning City Hall and having some parade where, we think that we've done it. It's a process. It's a day in, day out process. Waking up is a process. Speaking out against evil and corruption in our world is a process. It's a way of life for many. It's a spiritual practice. Okay? There is value in what you do. There is value in what you say. There is value in those talents that you have, whether you see people in your world or whether your parents encourage those talents within you or not, whether your parents see something in you or not. Override that. Jump around that. And jump around this whole game of what we think it takes to survive, because our instincts that have been bombarded with all this imagery and all these threats. Oh, look at this. Oh, look at the female torso. Ooh, want that body. Go for that. Be her slave. Oh, woman, be his slave. Oh, reach for the top of the obelisk. Reach for the golden ring. You can do it. I mean, just start deprogramming yourself from all of this, because a lot of the real solution, what's the solution? Is that we deprogram from a lot of this collectivist thinking. And there is so much collectivist thinking on so many different levels. As a parent, what are you telling your children to prepare them for the world of tomorrow? What do you think young girls should be told about this world right now? About men right now? About the future right now? About making good decisions? What do you think young boys should be told right now about the situation right now? About the truth, about things taking place right now within our government, within the military, where things are going, how to treat women, the nature of a woman. Are you a father that tells his child that women are objects, that we play them and we punch these little buttons and the legs come open like this? We play games with them and we enjoy ourselves as we victimize others in any way that we can possibly do it. Are you a mother that teaches her daughter how to Find the man with the most money, with all the different physical attributes that the average woman might find attractive, just like the average male has certain wiring in him to go after a certain shape. What I'm telling you is a lot of your sexual wiring has nothing to do with spirituality, has nothing to do with consciousness. And in fact, if you really want to understand why we're in this type of a world, you study that and you study that alone. You study what drives you. You study what kind of people that you're after, what kind of people you choose to be in relationships, and then look at the type of world that we live in now. Start to come to these understandings that most people enjoy dominating in relationships. Also, relationships are non-sexual. You have business relationships, you have friendships. I mean, you have all these different things that people don't look at, and I suggest that they should. Ask yourself what it means to be a good parent. How do you raise a young man? How do you raise a young woman in today's society? The best advice that I can give is, well, first of all, society in many ways is functioning like a drug addict that is waiting for an intervention. Its friends to intervene and explain to it how its delusions, addictions to illusions are causing great disease within the body. But I would encourage young women and young men to take the right measures that they need to attract a good person into their life, first and foremost, and to understand that that actually takes work and it's not done through game playing, okay? That would be probably the most important thing. The other important thing to bring up for people that are in the public educational school system, if we're going to be forced and mandated into such a prison-like atmosphere where people find out what it's like to get groped, to get punched, to get assaulted, to be forced to sit down and shut up, otherwise you go to detention. We learn to be good slaves early on in schools. Now we learn how to be filmed on camera. Sometimes they catch principals looking at those cameras. There's been a couple incidents of that in the United States where, in the locker room, in the female locker room, they have found cameras, and the male locker room. There is an increase in reports of sexual misconduct in the Portland area between teachers and between students. I would really recommend to the younger generation to not grow up and be like the adults of this world. They should know about 9/11. They shouldn't be told this BS about Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy. All that does is show on a metaphoric level how children at the earliest possible age are having their consciousness penetrated, being told flat out lies about the very basics. Tell them the truth. You have a set of teeth, okay, and every now and then we give you an allowance and we give you $10 for that teeth. You don't lie about entities and fairies. Look, if you're going to start talking about spirituality, you're going to start talking about entities and whatever, you need to start addressing what's going on behind DC. And that's my message to those of you that are doing religious programming, wherever you may be doing it, however you may be listening to this show. If you are getting up before the people and you are acting like you are speaking for God and what God wants and what Jesus wants, you need to start talking about what's going on our friggin' planet, okay? There's no doubt a whole percentage of your flock is completely believing what the mainstream media is telling them. They need to have an adult. They need to have a father figure. They need to have a close, trusted friend say, hey, people, do not just believe whatever the media is telling you. Please, my brothers and sisters, life is not the way that CNN is describing it. There is great evil on our planet. Start to question when men, powerful men, with powerful weapons start to tell you that this group is the enemy and you need to kill them by the millions, and no wrong will come to you when you come back to the United States. You'll have a job, you'll have health care, you won't wake up shaking in the middle of the night sweating, considering whether you should kill yourself or whether you should first kill your wife, kill your children, then kill yourself because you've gone crazy. See, all this stuff is happening and it's rising, this unconscious human behavior. There is a role for an exorcist in today's society. Unfortunately, society is not ready to ask for such help. It is all just an accident. It is all just a mistake. Everything is just random. Until someone actually seeks this knowledge, they will just completely bypass it on the street and resent those trying to help them. Regardless, if you are one of those trying to help other individuals, understand this is how we set ourselves free from this type of a world. Ask yourself if it's an accident that we're even in this type of a world. Ask yourself, with all the possibilities that exist out there, could there be possibility of life beyond this? A world where men and women live in greater harmony, a world where we grow our own food, a world in which our skies are not chemtrailed, a world of stability, a world where we're not reliving the Tower of Babel, where the next king of all solar flares is going to completely eradicate our grid as it exists right now, bringing down the nuclear power plants in America, causing a mass death scenario. See, all of this is realistically what we're looking at, not what could happen in so many years when places like Oregon are perceived to be the only livable places on Earth. See, that type of nonsense is what's driving more Portland people to the Portland area, is these maps that Oregon's going to be the only safe place to go to. By the way, now that I remembered, Hank Paulson, anybody remember him from the Bush administration? The Treasury Secretary to the Bush administration was just in Portland, Oregon. That's right. Global warming, everybody. Time to pay your carbon taxes. Time for us to charge you by the mile. Portland's a great place to do it. Let's put an iCloud system over here. Let's get Google on board. It's going to be friggin' awesome. And we're going to save the world. Hank Paulson, Treasury Secretary for the Bush administration, was in Portland not too long ago. How you liking green Portland now? Isn't that progressive? Oh yeah. You're either with us or you're with the people hurting the earth. You're with the global warmers. So it's called, you're either with us or you are with the terrorists. All right, we've got 2 minutes left. AlexAnsary.tv is the webpage. Again, don't disrespect your ancestors, those that came before you. There were good things that your grandmother, great-great-grandmother, and father may have done so you could survive, so your ancestors could survive. So every time you hear about the old world and the things used to be, don't just disrespect your ancestors and say there's nothing good about our past that we can bring forward into this new age where there's so much transhumanism taking place, where people are literally mating full-on with robots, with Facebook Mobile, and other things. Technology is creeping up in our world in a big, big way. Please, do not let it overcome your own innate humanity. Understand, please, how artificial the gender war is and how we need each other. We need each other. It takes both a man and a woman to create a child, but far more than that primitive level, we need each other as a society to prevent ourselves from going completely bonkers and off the rails. It is completely normal to have compassion for each other, to appreciate those aspects of our humanity that isn't completely corrupted, and to speak for future generations, regardless of the danger that we may think we will be in if we were to do such things. Thank you for watching. Outside the Box, edition 321. Edition 320 will play in a few weeks on Access TV, and you can also find that at youtube.com/AlexAnsary. Thank you for watching. Thank you, crew. Good night.